Depend sound to পোৱা নাই. Depend sound পোৱা নাই. Depend মই sound to পোৱা নাই. শব্দ পোৱা নাই.
Sir, you are audible. Your sound is okay, sir.
Now audible. Now audible. Okay. Now okay. Okay. No, audio is not getting. Dr. Deependas, audio is not getting. Dr. Deependas, audio is not getting. Dr. Deependas, audio is not getting.
Am I audible, sir? Sir,
Yes,
am I
sir.
audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
A very good afternoon to everybody. Respected Dr. Anil Saikia, sir, chairperson of this presentation session, and all the learned participants. Sorry for this technical error. Let's start our this presentation session. Now, I'd like to request Dr. Anil Saikia, sir, retired principal of Moran College, to take the session and initiate this presentation session. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Deependas. I welcome all the participants in this session. Time is very short, therefore we have to finish it at 4:30. Therefore, I request all the esteemed participants to certain your papers. Not more than 3 minutes, because due to technical reason, the time becomes short. I start from Dr. Toliko Gogoi, faculty, Dhamaji College, Assam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Toliko Gogoi, carry on.
Honorable chairperson of this abstract presentation, Dr. Anil Saikia, sir. Respected head coordinator, Professor Deepen Das, and the members of the organizing committee, and learned participants, and present all the faculties and academicians. So my topic is human rights violation on border dwellers in Northeast India. So human rights are indispensable rights for all human beings, which provide security irrespective of caste, religion, gender, state, or nation. State boundary cannot limit the human rights being a man in the society. It is necessary to all from birth to death. This paper is an attempt to analyze how the border dwellers that have been violated their rights in the northeastern region. So Northeast region consists of presently 8 states, but basically the Assam sharing borders of Nagaland, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram. So in these particular 4 states, the people of border dwellers, they have been harassing. They have feeling the insecurity, looting, murdering, kidnapping. So such type of inhuman activities are happening in these regions. So though the government taken various steps, but it is not up to the mark. Recently, on 26 July, so that border dispute taken place between the 2 states, Mizoram and Assam, which is created acute tension in the bordering areas as well as northeastern region. and as a whole in the nation. So which is also created the acute that tension in these areas. So those border dwellers are living in the bordering areas. The dwellers, they are actually deprived their rights. They lost land, their lands have been evacuated. So sometimes murdering, looting, that kidnappings are taken place frequently. So in this paper, an attempt to make the analyze all these that case studies covering the human rights violations. So in this paper, I have to that apply the analytical and historical method to uphold the findings. So thank you, sir. This is my that short presentation.
So kind of you, Dr. Tolikho Gogoi. Very nice issue, that border issue. This is a burning problem of Northeast India. And thank you for your kind presentation. Our next participant, yes, Kanseng Borua, faculty Bapuji College, Assam.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Respected chairperson of the third presentation session, organizers, and all the co-participants of the workshop. Myself, Kanseng Borua, Assistant Professor, Bapuji College, Sorukhetri. Before going to present my paper, I would like to offer my warm gratitude to the organizers, as they have given me the opportunity to participate such a wonderful workshop. Again, I would like to mention it that the workshop has benefited me a lot. Thank you, the organizers and all the resource persons of all the sessions of this workshop. The topic from my presentation is child labor, one of major human rights violation in Assam, a case study with some suggestive measures. Because of time issue, here I am going to present only the abstract of my paper by focusing some important points, what will actually be in my paper. Child labor is one of the major violations of fundamental human rights in our human society. International Labour Organization Conventions 138 in 1973 and 182 in 1999 define child labor as children younger than 12 working in any economic activities, children 12 to 14 years old engaged in more than light work, and all children engaged in the worst forms of child labor, in which they are enslaved, forcibly recruited, prostituted, trafficked, forced into illegal activities, or exposed to hazards. In any way, engaging children in workplaces by depriving of their childhood that harms them or exploits them physically, mentally, morally, or by blocking their access to education is to be identified as child labor. The greatest cause of child labor is nothing but poverty, which coerces the children to driving into workplace. The parents of such children involving in child labor consider it as normal, and sometimes they engage in workplaces for children's own survival and of their families too. Some other root causes of child labor are lack of access to quality education, poor access to decent work, limited understanding of child labor, natural disasters and climate changes, conflict and mass migration, etc. India is one of the countries that having the largest number of child labor, according to Census of India 2011. There are 11.72 million working children in the age group of 5 to 14 years. This figure indicates that 4.5% of the total population of India are child laborers. Nowadays, child labor is a serious issue in Assam also, especially working in tea gardens or as domestic help. In Assam, as per Census 2011, 4.9%, that is 3.47 lakhs of total population, working children in the age group of 5 to 14 years of the total population. Because of child labor, children are extremely victimized in many times. In August 2020, a well-educated couple of Dibrugarh district of Assam allegedly committed upon a minor by pouring boiling water on the minor, who was engaged as a domestic help in their residence. In the month of April 2021, a 12-year-old girl has killed by a well-to-do family from Roha, Nagaon district. Both the cases expose horrors of child abuse in Assam. Such type of child abuse and exploitations in Assam is rapidly growing in a large scale by the, day by day. In this paper, I will try to find out the basic causes of child labor in Assam and also try to find out the basic suggested measures through which we can prevent such violent deeds occurring from child labor, the violations of fundamental human rights. This is the gist of my paper, actually, sir. Thank you.
So kind of you, Kunsing Borua. This is a very alarming situation that 5% of the total population is the child labor in India. Yes, and many of the well-known people violated the human rights by engaging child as labor in their residence. You have said. Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank you,
then yes, so kind of you. Mr. Rita Das, faculty, Lamding College, Lamding, Assam. Yes, Rita Das. Rita Das, could you hear me? Hello? Yes, I find no response from Rita Das. Then proceed to next participant, Pranita Kolita. Pranita Kolita, faculty, R.G. Borua College, Assam. Pranita Kolita. Yes, I got no response from Pranita Kolita. Then next participant, Nirupam Fukan, faculty, Mukoksang Degree College, Mokswa Degree College, Mokswa Degree College. Nirupam Fukan, could you hear me? Nirupam Fukan. I got no response from Nirupam Fukan. Dr. Hima Hazarika Das, faculty, Tinsukia College, Assam. Hello, anybody? Could you? Yes.
Sir, Hima Hazarika Das present, sir?
Yes, Dr. Hima Das. Hima Hazarika Das, carry on, Tinsukia College. You need not address anybody. Just carry on the paper.
Hello.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
The title of my paper is Violence Against Women, an Overview. Women issue is a global issue. They, throughout the ages, are playing very significant role in shaping human civilization. Women are also human beings, and they are born free. They also have equal right to enjoy equal rights. Women rights are also known as human rights. Human rights are inherent, universal, and non-discriminatory in nature. But if we go through the pages of human history, we find that in spite of their colorful contributions to different fields, women are not treated equally along with men. Different types of violent activities are going on against women across the world, including India, which is known as the largest democracy in the world. Violence against women, it is also known as gender-based violence. Violence against women means all acts of gender-based violence that result in physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm or suffering to women, whether occurring in public or private life. Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UNO, was very much concerned with this global problem. He expressed his views on the problem in this way. Violence against women and girls is a problem of pandemic proposition. At least 1 out of every 3 women of the world has been beaten or otherwise abused in her lifetime. The UN Charter provides equal rights of both men and women. If you see the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted in 1948 by the UN General Assembly, it also admits equal rights of both men and women. Under Article 1, it lays down that all human beings are born free and as such equal in dignity and rights. Article 5 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights provides right against torture. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel or inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. UN General Assembly in 1979 adopted Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. But in spite of the different efforts made by the United Nations, we all are known that the women are suffering from different types of violence across the world. If we see the picture of India, it is also very critical. In India, on the one hand, women are worshipped as mother goddess in the name of Durga or Lakshmi. But on the other hand, living women with blood and flesh, they are harassed in different ways, such as physically, sexually, psychologically, emotionally, or economically. Inhuman and degrading treatments are done against women in different times, in different ways. If you see the picture of ancient India, soti system prevailed, the practice of bail system also was going on. After independence, even after independence, women are not enjoying equal rights. The rights are violated. Different types of violent activities are going on in independent India also. In spite of equal rights are provided by the Constitution of India. Even in India, we see the different laws are passed for the protection of the interests of the women, such as Dowry Prohibition Act, Domestic Violence Act, etc. Even we have a commission, National Commission for Women, which was established in 1992. In spite of that, we see that different types of violence are going in India. The main objective of this paper is to examine the different forms of violence that is going on in India against women. At the same time, I have made an attempt to find out the different types, causes, and consequences of violation that is going on against women. Methodology, I have used an analytical method, which is used. Sources of materials, both primary and secondary sources are used. Forms of different types of violence that is going on against women, such as dowry-related violence, rape cases, domestic violence, honor killing, forced marriage, forced pregnancy, forced abortion, abuse related to son preferences, etc. We are all aware about the Tondur murder case of New Delhi, 1995. New case. It is also well known to all. The rape case of Manipur that forced the murder of women in Manipur to protest nakedly with the banner "Indian Army Rape Us." It is very tragic in our country. If we see the causes of violence against women, we find different causes such as poverty, lack of education, both men and women. I am not saying that lack of women education. I am saying that both men and women, lack of education of both men and women. It is very much notable point, I think. Use of alcohol, economic dependency on the male members or lack of economic strength of the women, infertility of women, giving birth to a child, patriarchal society, son preferences, dowry practice. These are some of the major causes. Consequences. Violence against women has a number of negative consequences, not only on the victims but also the family, in the society and in the country at large. Consequences are negative in character. These are physical consequences may be there, mental, career-related consequences, effects are also there. Gender discrimination, gender inequality, diverse cases, these are increasing due to the violence that is going on against women. My observation is that violence against women that is going on in India are not only done by the male members, but women are also sometimes engaged in violent activities against women. It is the reality of Indian society. Women are harassed both inside and outside their house. Relatives, known as well as unknown persons, are engaged in different types of violent activities against women. Recently, when our first day seminar presentation was going on, I have come to a news that father in UP, the case is in UP, father raped his newly married daughter. It is a very tragic incident. In both practical and material society, the violence are going on. We generally feel that we are living in a patriarchal society. Therefore, male members, therefore, only in the patriarchal society, violence against women are going on. But it is not the true picture of Indian society.
Thank you, Hima Das.
Society.
Thank you, Hima Das. Dr. Hima Hazarika Das, 4 minutes
conclusion,
over.
just I would like to do 2 points conclusion. It is to be tackled. The problem is very burning. It is to be tackled. We have to give emphasis on solving the problem of poverty. Expansion of education is very much essential. Expansion of human rights education is also essential. Creating awareness among the people who are living in the poor, who are living in a remote area. It is also very much essential. I think we not only we are giving emphasis on human rights education. It is okay, but if the poverty problem is going on in the society, poverty is going on, then for that people who are suffering from poverty, they will democracy, secularism, these ideas will have no meaning for them. Therefore, poverty, illiteracy, these are to be said at the urgent need of the hour. Whatever maybe, I would like to conclude by saying that ultimate responsibility to create a society free from violence against women, not only against women, for all, the main responsibility lies in our hands. We, the people, both men and women, have to develop our green relationship. We have to respect each other and respect all for the sake of humanity. Thank you, sir.
Definitely nice presentation, Dr. Hima Hazarika Das. Thank you once again. Then I Manjit Purakasto, faculty, Ramakrishna Nagar College, Assam. Yes, Manjit Purakasto. Yes.
Very good afternoon to everyone. Sir, the paper is Northeastern State and violations of human rights, particularly in respect of women and children. So my attempt is made on how the draconian or laws that are operating in the Northeastern State in the name of law and order situation. So in this aspect, in the name of maintaining law and order situations by the Armed Power Special Power Act, that how the human rights of women, children, particularly the young ones, are violated. In the name of maintaining law and order, mass raids on thousands of villages were conducted in the name of interrogations, and police they have brutally tortured the women and young ones, and sometimes they loaded the young ones from the homes, shops, schools, and villages, and the innocent undergoes the brutal torture. So in Nagaland, the Naga peoples has compelled to form one Naga People's Movement for Human Rights, which was formed in 9 September 1978 to protect and promote their human rights. So, especially, I would like to mention Nagaland Security Regulation Act 1962, Assam Maintenance of Public Order 1953, Armed Forces Special Power Act 1958, and Northeast Armed Force Special Power Act 1972. We have also experienced much violations, human rights violations are taking place in Manipur. I would like to mention here the name of Monohama Devi, who was once arrested by the army personnel for interrogations, and later it comes on the media that she died due to being killed by army personnel in the custody. So even we have seen another woman who is called Iron Lady, Iram Chanu Sarmila. She also undertook 16 years fasting for removal of Armed Forces Special Power Act in Manipur. So we have experienced that how police repression is quite common in these valleys. So naturally, human rights of the ordinary peoples becomes suffered. Illegal confinement is common. Political, physical torture become all the more cruel. Beating, meeting with rifle, these are very common. Even sometimes we have noticed that some prisoners has also died, made to starve without food and water in the police custody. Although the Supreme Court of protections to detain prisoners from torture, the court also issued guidelines to the in all cases of arrest or detention till legal provisions are made. So the Apex Code also mentioned that if the police officers violate any provisions of the guideline, they should also be punished and no sympathy should be shown on them. Even we have also observed that.
Yes, Manjit Prakash, your network is not good. I hardly follow your this paper. Your main aim of the paper is in name of integration and in name of law and order, people are tortured. Thank you, Manjit. Your network is very poor. Therefore, excuse me. I request you that I understand. We all understand that in the name of interrogation, in name of law and order, people are tortured. This is your aim of the paper. Thank you, Manjit. Because of your poor network, who could not allow to go more. So kind of you. Okay, then next participation is Dr. Manos Das, faculty Karimganj College.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Manos Das.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dr. Manos
Good
Das.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, audible.
Sir, my topic is human rights education in Northeast India, opportunities and challenges. Human rights education is a key issue in Northeast India. Educational development in Northeast India has been comparatively stable for decades, but recently the government of India has taken the initiatives for the rapid development in the region. Central government, state governments, central institutions, government institutions, and non-government organizations are active for the development and implementation of human rights education programs in all over the country. Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms which belong to every person in the world, from birth until death. These basic rights are based on shared values like dignity, fairness, equality, respect, and independence. These values are protected by law. Education is necessary to develop human personality, and it is helpful to strengthen human rights and fundamental freedom of the individual. Education shall be free in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory to all. Technical and professional education shall be made available. Higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merits. Education, training, and information aimed at building universal cultural and a culture of human rights. The education is the most important and vital tool for awareness of spreading fundamental rights and human rights. Human rights education should include peace, democracy, development, and social justice. So set forth in international and regional human rights instruments. In order to achieve common undertaking, achieve common understanding and awareness with a view to strengthening universal commitment of human rights. Education in human rights is itself a fundamental human right and also a responsibility. The preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights exhorts every individual and every organ of society to strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms. Human rights education is all learning and develops the knowledges, skills, and values of human rights. As per provisions within Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other international documents, human rights education can be defined as education, training, and information aiming at building a universal culture of human rights through the sharing of knowledge, imparting of skills, and molding of attitudes desired to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. The full freedom.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj Das. Your time
Sir,
is over.
Just 1 minute, sir. Just 1 minute. So many things are very much related to these papers. Due to the shortage of the time limit or time constraint, it is quite impossible to discuss the matters, all the matters. The issues and challenges of the Northeastern regions are burning problem regarding the educations, discriminations, inequalities, poverties, value-oriented programs. So many things are there. So thank you very much. Because of that, time limits doesn't permit me to proceed more.
Yes,
thank you very much.
You are rightly said that education is the basic tool to maintain human rights. So nice presentation. Thank you very much. And next participant is Jini Rani Boro, faculty, RG Bodua College, Assam. Jini Rani Boro. Jini Rani Boro. Whether you can hear me. Next faculty Bhaskar Kakoti, faculty Golaghat Commerce College. Bhaskar Kakoti. Yes, Dr.
Yes.
Bhaskar. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Respected Chairperson, Dr. Anil Saikia, sir, one of the cultural icon of Assam, the organizers, Dr. Dipen Saikia, sir, and Dr. Dipen Das, Honorable Secretary, and the members of workshop and the technical staff, and my dear colleagues. In my paper, I would like to highlight some major issues that reflects the failure of different provisions nationally and internationally, especially meant for women. The topic of my paper is Human Rights for Women, a Miles to Go. The international official document on human rights published by United Nations Organization on December 10, 1948, under the name and style as Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is very first article proclaimed that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Theoretically, it is one of the best provision for both men and women in the world. But in practice, it is not as simple as to give equal dignity and status or rights to women as men get. It is said that charity begins at home, but in the time of women and human rights, it is seen that from the time of birth, a baby girl is facing discrimination compared to a baby boy. After mother gave a birth, a baby, the curious near and dear one asks the family in a hurry that is it a boy or a girl? The first discrimination starts here. The first term is boy, and it is pretended that boys are the widely circulated that the boys are the society in the society that they can only run the hereditary and a chain of this is the beginning of a so-called patriarchal system life directly or indirectly facing the girl side. From the childhood, the family decided or pretended that pink color of pink is for girl's child and red and blue for boys. The girl is provided with a Barbie doll and boy with a toy pistol and toy car. It is different than either family or society that baby girl is not as a girl, rather she is naughty and masculine behavior if she is asking for a toy or pistol or a car or a toy car. The family, boys are the center of attraction where girls it's less important. The family always teaches the girl's child to prepare them for sacrifice and dedication. In every time, it is said that the women, there are a lot of acts and provisions to provide human rights for women in international and in national level. The human rights are for women in social field, in political field, and religious field. In respect to social field, it is said that it is seen that in our society, till now, men get more preferences regarding to sit in a meeting or preside over a public. In political field, it is more pathetic. In international arena, never seen a woman Secretary General in UNO till now. The superpower and one of the highly qualified state, United Nations of America, never get a woman president. In our country too, only Mrs. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil and Mrs. Indira Gandhi took the highest rank of Indian president and prime minister respectively after Indian independence. In religious field also, there is a lot of pain faced by women to get or to enter in Sabarimala temple.
Yes, Bhaskar, your time is over.
Maharashtra.
Bhaskar, your time is over.
Yes.
It is a nice presentation.
Last line. It is more pathetic to see that Priya Munda, a 4-year-old girl child, is killed by her parents in the name of Kali Puja. Thank you, sir.
Yes. It is last incident. Yes, there is a discrepancy between the boys and girls. Yes, it is a very nice presentation, Bhaskar. Yes. I request all the participants to put off their audio. Yes, disturbance is there. I request all the participants to put off their audio device. Some of the participants yes, respected participants, please kindly put off your audio device. Okay, next participant is Parag Kumar Deka, faculty, MC College, Parag Kumar Deka.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Respected chairperson, organizers, participants, মই Parag Kumar Deka, MC College পৰা অসমীয়া বিভাগৰ গতিকে মই অসমীয়া পেপাৰখন পাঠ কৰিব খুজিছো মোৰ বিষয়টো হৈছে শিশু সুৰক্ষা আৰু মানৱ অধিকাৰৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত গতিকে মই পেপাৰখন পঢ়িছো শিশুসকল ভৱিষ্যতৰ অমূল্য সম্পদ পিতৃ মাতৃ অভিভাৱক সচেতন ব্যক্তি তথা সংশ্লিষ্ট ওপৰতে তেওঁলোকৰ ভৱিষ্যত নিৰ্ভৰ কৰে। 21 শতিকাতো শিশু অধিকাংশ লোক তথা সমাজ সচেতন নহয়। শিশুসকল শাৰীৰিক, মানসিক, সামাজিক তথা অৰ্থনৈতিক দিশত বৰ্তমানো অৱহেলিত। পিতৃ-মাতৃ মৰমৰ পৰা বঞ্চিত হৈ বহু শিশুৱে পেটৰ তাৰণাত ৰাস্তাৰ গ্লাছ, টেমা, বুটলি, হোটেলত জোতা পলিচ কৰি, ইটাৰ ভাটাত কাম কৰি, বাছ টেকাৰ হেণ্ডিমেন কৰি, অনাদৰ অৱহেলাৰে কঠোৰ পৰিশ্ৰম কৰি পেট প্ৰৱৰ্তন কৰিবলগীয়াত পৰে। ৰাষ্ট্ৰসংঘৰ এটা সমীক্ষা অনুসৰি পৰিয়ালৰ দ্বাৰা পৰিত্যক্ত হৈ 10 কোটি শিশুৱে হাড়ভাঙা পৰিশ্ৰম লগা হয় বা সৰু সুৰা অপৰাধ বা ভিক্ষাবৃত্তিত হয়। 5 কোটিতকৈ অধিক শিশুৱে অপৰাধ বা ভিক্ষাবৃত্তিত 5 কোটিতকৈ অধিক শিশুৱে আৰু অসুৰক্ষিত পৰিৱেশত কাম কৰে। 6 বছৰৰ পৰা 11 বছৰৰ ভিতৰত শাখালৈ যোৱাৰ পৰা বঞ্চিত হয়। প্ৰতি বছৰে 3.5 কোটি চিকিৎসাৰ অভাৱত মৃত্যু হয়। উন্নয়নশীল দেশবোৰতো 1.25 অৱস্থাত বসবাস কৰে। সেইদৰে ধনী দেশবোৰতো কোটি কোটি শিশুৱে সন্মুখীন হয়, যৌন আতিশয্যৰ বলি হয় বা নিচাযুক্ত হয়। বিশ্বৰ উন্নত দেশসমূহত, উন্নত ৰাষ্ট্ৰসমূহত শিশুসকলৰ শাৰীৰিক, মানসিক উৎকৰ্ষ সাধনৰ বাবে বিজ্ঞান সংস্থাৰ দ্বাৰা কল্যাণমূলক কাৰ্যসূচীলৈ আৰ্থিক সাহায্যৰে উপকৃত হৈছে যদিও তৃতীয় বিশ্বৰ দেশসমূহত বিপৰীত দৃশ্য দেখা যায়। শিশুসকলে প্ৰাপ্য অধিকাৰ যাতে বিনাদ্বিধাই লাভ কৰিব পাৰে তাৰ বাবে 1989 চনত ৰাষ্ট্ৰসংঘৰ শিশু অধিকাৰ চনত শীৰ্ষক এখনি মানৱ অধিকাৰ চনত প্ৰস্তুত কৰে। ভাৰতবৰ্ষই 1992 চনত দফা অনুসৰণ কৰাৰ সিদ্ধান্ত গ্ৰহণ কৰে যদিও বহু শিশু এতিয়াও এই অধিকাৰসমূহৰ পৰা বঞ্চিত। মোৰ গৱেষণা পত্ৰখনত উল্লেখিত বিষয়সমূহৰ বিজ্ঞানসন্মত বিশ্লেষণ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে চেষ্টা কৰা হ'ব। ধন্যবাদ ছাৰ।
ধন্যবাদ Parag Kumar Das. I thank you very much, Parag Kumar Das. Yes, children of today will be the citizen of tomorrow. You touched that point. Yes, I again request some of the participants, esteemed participants, not put up their audio click. I think Dr. Nivedita Saikia, kindly put up your audio clip. Dr. Nivedita Saikia. Yes, Dr. Nivedita Saikia, put up your audio. Yes. Next participant is Ridip Khonikar, Kothar College, Assam. Yes, it is time 3:43, and in 3:46 you have to close. Ridip Khonikar.
Yes, I am here, sir.
Yes.
I'm listening.
It is 3:43. Time 3:43. You have to close it 3:46.
Okay, thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Nivedita Saikia to please mute your microphone? Nivedita, tomorrow phone to off. Okay. A respected resource person, organizers, the ardent participants of this August gathering. The topic that I am presenting in this brief seminar is entitled State and Land Rights, a Human Rights Perspective. Is an attempt to understand 3 important dimensions associated with land and other landed properties. The first dimension is about the importance of land rights in individuals' socio-cultural and politico-economic understanding as well as construction, and how these rights are inalienable in order to maintain and sustain the traits of indigeneity of the Adivasi, Estes, or indigenous people, whatever the nomenclature is, and other local communities. The second important aspects that the paper attempts to explore here is about the role of the state as a facilitating agency of the land rights. State, being the legal owner of the entire territory of the state, has to manage, distribute, redistribute, and even protect land rights of its fellow citizens in such a manner that equality and social justice is established. And the third important aspects that the paper is trying to bring into light is a kind of advocacy to reaffirm the ongoing international movement for recognition of land rights of the indigenous people as well as other local communities as inalienable human rights. It's true that internationally, no international law or arrangement or affirmation explicitly alludes to human rights to land. However, many social movements over the world have been developed so far, guaranteeing land rights as human rights. For this land rights movement, the articulation of a right to land is perceived as a way to push for the protection and the promotion of a key social issue, the recognition that local people or indigenous people do have a right to use, own, and control on their lands. With these three basic arguments, I have concluded my presentation here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Redip Khaniker. You timely close. Hello, Plavan Bhuya. Yes, Plavan Bhuya.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes. Plavan Bhuya.
The chairperson. Introduction part. Indian states of Assam, located south of Bhutan and east of Bangladesh, is geographically almost cut off from the rest of India, with its only physical link in the narrow land corridor to West Bengal. Home to a number of tribes and ethnic groups, Assam has been the site of separatist movement and violent insurgency since India's independence in 1947. The Indian Army has conducted massive search and arrest operations in thousands of villages in Assam. Many victims of abuses committed during these operations are civilians, often relatives or neighbors of the young man. Villages have been threatened, harassed, raped, assaulted, and killed by soldiers attempting to frighten them into identifying suspected militants. Now come to the objective part of my paper. So first one is to analyze the violent activities in Assam during 1990s. The second one is to highlight the insurgency and counter-insurgency operations in Assam. And the last one is to assess the cases of abuses by security forces in Assam. So I come to the main part, analysis part. Assam's human rights situation is rooted in its ethnic and linguistic makeup in the history of this administrative relationship to the central government of India. Assam movement culminated in 1985 when Assam Gana Parishad came to power. In 1970, a militant Assamese nationalists moved from political agitation to full-scale armed insurrection. In 1979, Assamese militants joined forces with Naga and Kasin guerrillas in northern Burma and formed the United Liberation Front of Assam, ULFA. Despite the use of violence, ULFA gained popular support by taking over local administration in rural areas where government machinery had broken down. But from 1988 to 1990, ULFA's violent activities escalated. It came to virtually control the state. On November 1990, the central government imposed president rule, putting the scale under the direct control of Delhi, and launched a massive anti-insurgency operation codenamed Bajrang. In 1991, the army was deployed once again under the code name Operation Rhino. During Operation Bajrang and Rhino, human rights groups in Assam complained the civil administration of the state had all but ceased. Several human rights violations by the security forces during both operations have been well documented by the human rights organization in India. Both ULFA and security forces committed abuse since 1990s. The insurgent groups have engaged in assassination and kidnapping of the civilians, including police officers, journalists, businessmen, and others. On the other hand, security forces also abuses persons like Babul Borua, Dibakar Handik, etc. Moreover, security laws also restricted the freedom of expression. Journalists like Ajit Kumar Bhuya, Warak Kumar Das, Atanu Bhuya, Manjit Mohanto, etc. were interrogated and also arrested under various sections. Now, come to the conclusion. In the other words, violations of human rights is a very pertinent issue during 1990s in the context of Assam. Thank you so much.
Saikia sir, please switch on your mic. Saikia sir. Saikia sir, please
yes,
switch on your mic.
Yes. Very nice presentation, Pavan Bhuya. Your presentation is very nice on insurgency problem. Now, Susila, we're ready. Faculty, another degree collection, West Bengal. Susila, your time starts.
Good afternoon, everyone. My dear friends, I'll straight go to the topic. The violation, name of my topic is The Violation of Human Rights, an event at Margaret's Hope Tea Garden, Darjeeling in 1955. Now, since I am from Darjeeling and the place which is very famous for tea, so I would like to delve my paper on one particular event that took place long time back in the history of Darjeeling. Now, on 10th of December 1948, UN Declaration of Human Rights came into effect. Of course, we got independence in 1947, and you know, human rights had been given to everyone, but it has been violated since then. So what constitutes the violation of human rights? When we go into that particular area, then we find that when the rights are not protected and totally disregarded, then we call it the violation of human rights. It can be done intentionally performed by the state, or come when the state fails to prevent the violation. So in two ways, right? So when the state itself is engaged in human rights violation, then we find many actors like police, judges, prosecutor, even government officials are involved in the violation of human rights. Okay, and the next, when the state, when there are some kind of a misunderstanding or let's say conflict between the individual and the society, then what happens? If there is something like that, then when the state fails to intervene and protect the vulnerable people from that particular conflict, then we consider that time also the state has participated in the violation of human rights. And understanding these two ideas of human rights and the violation of human rights, when we go back to the history of Darjeeling in 1955, an event had taken place in the Margaret Tea Garden in 1955, when the blatant violation of human rights had taken place. On the fateful day of 25th June 1955, innocent, unarmed tea workers were killed by the West Bengal police in Margaret Tea Garden in Sunamganj, the place where I work now. Now, what actually happened and which led to the killing of those 6 innocent people? And you know that in this particular case, the people were 3 women and 3 men. The eldest among the deceased were 38 years old, and the youngest was 15 years old. And he himself was not involved in the protest. Actually, this tea workers, the industry has started from 1856 onwards during the time of British, right? So what happened was that they were exploited even during the time of colonial period, and even after the time of independence, they were exploited in the same way. Only the management has changed. Earlier it was Britishers, now the Indians themselves, and some of the Britishers even they stayed back, right? So what happened? They were trying to get some help from the management. They were exploited. They were not given proper facilities, right? They were not allowed to put full pants while working. They were not allowed to wear shoes. So what happens was that then political parties, All India Gorkhali and Communist Party of India, they try to organize this labor worker, tea workers, to fight for their rights. Okay, so what happens was that, but in between, they were organizing this tea workers. One particular act has passed, that is the Plantation Labor Act of 1951, which tried to provide some kind of help to the tea workers. But this act did very little to these workers best, because this was implemented only in 1954. That also after 3 years, and very less provisions were given to them. So these 2 political parties who were organizing these tea workers, they decided to go for a strike. Striking all over the hill in the tea factories. Okay? And the management were totally against it. And they had put forward certain demands for their rise of salary, the bonus, as well as their maternity leave. And one particular act that
Okay, Sushila, your time is over. Please sum up. Your time is over.
And when they protested, they were fatally killed by the police. And this was
Sir, sorry for interruption. I'd like to request Pallavi Saikia to mute yourself. Pallavi Saikia, please switch off your mic.
But still, if you go back and check today also, the tea workers in Darjeeling, they are just getting 202 rupees per day. That is one of the very, very less amount of salary one could ever get with 7 hours of working in such a rain, like the roads are not good. The facility is still lacking behind. So the government has to look into that. Thank you.
Yes. Sushila, yes, violation of human right in tea garden is a nice presentation. Thank you very much. And I request all the participants that we have only half an hour, but we have 13 participants. Therefore, I request all the participants to summarize your paper, complete your paper within 2.5 minutes here. Excuse me for that, because on 4:30 we have to start another session. Yes, next participant is Toka Su, research scholar, Nagaland University, Nagaland. Toka Su. Maybe absent. Dr. Oshini Mekhe, Dr. Oshini Mekhe, the faculty, MDK Girls College, Dibrugarh, Assam. Oshini, Dr. Oshini Mekhe. Okay. Maybe absent. Nabanita Saikia, faculty, Melamara College, Golaghat. Nabanita. Nabanita Saikia, could you hear me? Hello? Hello, anyone?
Yes,
That
sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay, okay. Nobonita is absent. I hear the voice of Nobonita before few minutes ago. Saikia Talukdar, faculty Kamrup College, Samata. Kamrup College, Samata. Saikia Talukdar. Shatung Luang, academician. Wang Sir Rajkumar Golf College, Deomali, Arunachal. Yes, Luang. I think absent. Pamsula Bhutia, faculty Shonada Degree College, Shonada, West Bengal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon to the chairman of the presentation, organizing committee, and all my fellow participants. The topic of my presentation is transgender rights in Manipur, looking at marginalized stories from the margin. Historically, the transgender community has been neglected by mainstream patriarchal society. They have been relegated to the margins of the society. The very basic idea of human rights have been denied to them. They face intolerance, discrimination, and exclusion in the society. They have been denied certain rights, rights to marry, rights to adopt, and even denied rights to participate in society. The transgenders of Manipur have been neglected and abandoned and treated as the other. They have become the sexual other of mainstream Indian patriarchal society, even as they are ostracized. But through their lived lives, and they have challenged patriarchy in very interesting ways. They are born male, but they wear women's clothing. They wear makeup. These are traditionally seen as feminine, womanly things. They have taken up the profession of makeup artist, hairstylist, fashion designer. By doing so, they seem to be articulating a sense of their identities as makeup is a profession traditionally associated with women. By choosing this profession, they are thus choosing to express their notion of identity and come out of the closet. By moving into mainstream society, somewhere the understanding has seeped into Manipuri society by normalizing the idea of transgender, breaking the binaries of man and woman, incorporating the idea of a third gender thus. The NALSA verdict, which was given in 2014, recognized the third gender as a separate gender in the eyes of the law. The court granted equal rights to transgender persons, but still, even if the verdict highlighted the rights of the transgender community, which help in more visibility to the transgenders in the social and public sphere, there has been a kind of partial acceptance within mainstream jobs and education. It has helped the transgender to come out of the closet. Earlier, this profession was the only means to come out of the closet, because automatically a man who looks like a woman doing hair and makeup profession seems to challenge assumed patriarchal norms. With the NALSA judgment, they are getting other opportunities. With this, I just would like to end by giving one observation here. The judiciary has taken constructive steps to eliminate prejudice and injustice and to remove the stigma attached to the third gender. However, they still face intolerance, discrimination, and exclusion. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Intolerance, yes. Inclusion, yes. Very nice presentation and timely presentation. Thank you once again. I request Bhaskar Khanikar, librarian, HPB Girls College, Golaghat, Assam.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Sir, my paper is on role of libraries in supporting human rights. So introduction to right information to the right user at the right time in a right personal way is the one of the most important service of any kind of library. Access to information is the birthright of each and every people. A library is the place where people can democratically use information resources, and it is one of the best places to access as knowledge of human rights. The 5 laws of library science are also the strong evidence of protecting human rights, especially right to the information. Human rights, as we all know, then it is the objective of the paper to understand the awareness of human rights among the students, to find out the views and thinking of the surveyed student on different human rights, to have an outlook on the responsibilities and role of the library and information science professionals. Methodology. This paper is a survey-based paper and data were collected through telephonic conversation questionnaire. It is a Google form. For this purpose, 35 students from skill enhancement course, 3rd semester human rights of SPP Girls College are randomly picked up. The findings, discussion on findings, knowledge of human rights. In the questionnaire, a question was asked about their knowledge on human rights. Most of the respondents heard the term human rights in their 9th standard, but not aware of the human rights. They were also asked about the protection of human rights. All of them knew it that human rights are protected, but most of them are not aware how to protect the human rights. They were also asked what would they do if their human rights are violated. 13 students did not respond to this question, but many of them replied that they will go to the police station, inform their parents or family members, or directly visit to the human rights workers. How can a library promote human rights education? The public libraries and the People's University, which is known as the People University, plays an important role in the rural areas by educating the people about the socio-economic cultural aspect of their day-to-day life. Library and information centers should organize workshops, lectures, awareness programs to disseminate information on human rights. Libraries should have sound collection on human rights and build reading habit among the students. Library can organize awareness rally and can distribute leaflets, posters in the local communities. The library must keep a good contact with the Human Rights Protection Authority, legal workers, and human rights workers. Libraries should provide copies of Constitution for people to read to understand their rights. Libraries should provide internet facility for the user to access human rights information. Library can also participate in consortium to have more databases or resource sharing facilities. Conclusion, human rights are values we shall share because they are about recognizing the value and dignity of all people. In learning about human rights, we learn about ideals of respect, fairness, justice, and equality. Understanding human rights shapes our thinking and our actions because human rights are about real life issues. Strong libraries, mainly the research library and information center, can play an important role in ensuring citizens know their rights, demand, and defend them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Bhaskar. You touch a virgin area, that the role of human right in library.
Yes,
Very
sir.
nice presentation. Thank you for your presentation. Now I request Anupama Tamang, faculty, Sonada Degree College, Sonada, West Bengal. Anupama.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to everyone. My topic is the case of Sabarimala and women's rights, menstruation and temple politics. My paper seeks to interrogate the social and legal implications of gender vis-a-vis the recent Sabarimala verdict of the Supreme Court of the Indian Constitution. On the one hand, Ayappa was represented as a juristic person who determined the rights of entry to his temple. The defendant for Ayappa claimed constitutional rights for the god. The Supreme Court deemed that a deity cannot possess constitutional rights which are applicable only for human citizens, of the country, irrespective of men and women. My paper wishes to address how gender becomes foregrounded within this debate, how by seeking a recourse to law, women devotees may claim to being citizen, claim to being equal citizen subjects, having the right to worship before a deity. Religiosity and gender become two contesting categories within this debate. The case of Sabarimala, which happens to be a religious issue, has turned out to be a political one where political parties seem to be fishing in troubled waters. The verdict of the Supreme Court has enabled women of Kerala to choose whether to enter or not to enter the temple. Cases of sensitive issues like Sabrimala, where questions of gender equality is raised, also raises questions on the patriarchal society where women, no matter how qualified or educated they are, have always been to some extent suppressed. The point is, what is discrimination for some may not be a form of discrimination for others. Now, there are certain questions that arises from this case of Samimala. That is, the first one is interplay between freedom of religion under Articles 25 and 26 of the Constitution and other provisions in Part 3, particularly Article 14, that is right to equality before law and equal protection of law. Secondly, what is the sweep of expression, that is public order, morality, and health, occurring in Article 25, Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution? The expression morality or constitutional morality has not been defined in the Constitution, in the Indian Constitution. The extent to which the court can inquire into the issue of a particular practice is an integral part of the religious practice of a particular religious denomination, or should it be left to the head of the religious group? And lastly, whether essential religious practices are afforded constitutional protection under Article 26 or not. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anupama Tamang. Your paper is a thought-provoking paper. Yes, right to this religion, freedom of religion, right to equality. Yes, it is a thought-provoking paper. I once again thank you. Now I request Binjoy Nirin, faculty. Hello, could you hear?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Binjoy. Faculty, Government College.
Daparija.
Daparija, Arunachal Pradesh.
Yes, good afternoon to all. My humble respects to today's paper presentation resource person, Dr. Anil, sir. And I would also like to thank the chairman of this workshop, Dr. Dipen Saikia, sir, the secretary of this program, Dr. Dipen Das, sir, and the program coordinator, Dr. Yogesh, sir, and all the participants. My name is Binjoy Nirin, and I am assistant professor in the Department of Political Science at the Government College, Daparija, Arunachal Pradesh. The title of my project is Right to Information Act as an important tool of social development and good governance, a case study of Arunachal Pradesh. The Right to Information Act is a comprehensive legislation enacted to confer statutory rights on the citizens of India for seeking information from any public authorities. This has opened a new vistas of governance toward transparency and accountability in administration. True democracy cannot exist unless all citizens have a right to participate in the affairs of the polity of the country. The right to participate in the affairs of the country is meaningless unless citizens are well informed on all sides of the issues in respect which they are all upon to express their views. One-side information, disinformation, misinformation, and non-information make democracy first. Right to information can be used to elevate democracy to a participatory democracy. So, right to RTA Act was implemented in Arunachal Pradesh in 2006, and a State Information Commission was constituted on 9th September 2006. So, my main objective of this paper is that Is right to information work in real sense in Arunachal Pradesh or not? Are people using these tools for the benefit of their society as a whole, or they use this for their self-interest? Are all public authority complies with all the norms and rules of RTI in Arunachal Pradesh or not? Are people of Arunachal Pradesh aware of RTI and its utilities, or are they ignorant about RTI? How far RTI is effective in Arunachal Pradesh? Has RTI made any landmark breakthrough in Arunachal Pradesh or not till today? Has RTI made its objective Arunachal Pradesh? This paper attempt to highlight above all these issues. So some challenges I may counter in this research work is that there is a reluctance in the part of authority to participate in information. Is there any political interference in the execution of justice, or there is any threatening and attack on RTI activists and information seeker, or there is any poor prosecution of cases? So these are the main objectives that I want to make research in case of RTI in Arunachal Pradesh. And the last, I would like to conclude that people participation is only mantras for social economic governance of the society. Freedom of information is necessary part of our democratic polity. All power in democracy belongs to people who are the master, and the government is their servant. If people are to perform their sovereign roles and instruct their governments, they must have access to all information, ideas, and point of views. Thus, democracy extends beyond the ballot box and be defend pro-social citizenship and citizens' governance. I have no doubt that Arunachal Pradesh will certainly progress in terms of accountability when thousands of people use the right of information in coming days. Thank you, sir. With this few words, I would like to conclude here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vinjay. It's a nice presentation once again. Thank you once again. Now I request Chanchan Bhagabam, a research scholar at Manipur University.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to respected Anil sir, committee member, and my fellow participants. The topic of my presentation paper is Manipuri women on issues of human rights violations and UPSPA 1958. This paper will impart an overview on the perceptions and approaches of Manipuri women in relation to issues of human rights violations and UPSPA 1958 in Manipur. It is a historical fact that women folk in Manipur have been playing pivotal roles in the shaping of a future and present and future of Manipur, and hence there is no doubt that women in Manipur stands up and counter the various issues of human rights violations and dire consequences of draconian UPSPA 1958. Admittedly, the people of Manipur have been jeopardized by both the government security forces and militant groups. So there is the Mayra Paibi, the women torchbearer of Manipur, maintaining strict vigil, particularly during nighttime, to prevent any untoward incidents, but more so against state atrocities and human rights violations and harassments by Indian armed forces. There was the well-known exemplary protest of Irom Chanu Sharmila, who fasted for 16 long years, the longest hunger strike in the history of the world, demanding repeal of UPSPA 1958. There was also the heart-wrenching naked protest by the 12 mothers of Manipur at Kangla Fort in the heart of Imphal City on July 15, 2004 against the brutal rape and murder of Thangja Manorama. However, in fact, it was not just the first rape case or crime against women by the Indian armed forces. It was more an uprising against the long tolerated, unvoiced rape cases and harassments by the Indian security forces against women. And eventually, because of the protest, Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958 was repealed from 7 assembly constituencies in Greater Imphal area. And till today, July 15 is being observed as Anti-Repression Day by the women activists and women organizations. And still, there are various women organizations and activists, to mention Manipuri Women Gun Survivors Network as an example, still working with an objective to address the grievances and seeking justice for the victims of extrajudicial and unlawful killings, with primary focus on ensuring a self-reliant, dignified life to the already vulnerable women society in Manipur. So in fact, in all the efforts of the women folk in Manipur to maintain peace and security in the state is relentless, despite the various harassments and abusive behavior of the state security personnel and the Indian armed forces and also the militant groups, we cannot deny. Still, the women are, unstoppable. They are still fighting against these issues, these violations of human rights. And there was a time in Manipur when, the terms fake encounter and demand of ransom was talk of the town. And commonly known among the people of Manipur, fake encounter is, associated with the Indian security personnel, and of demand of ransom is associated with the militant groups, the insurgents. Everyone is aware of that, but still, now it's getting better, but still at a point of time, people were not, would not dare to stand up or voice openly against them because of the unpredictable consequences. So despite all these odds and difficulties, women still stood up against these kinds of unfair behavior, harassments and tortures and violations of human rights. And still, women of Manipur is continuing to fight relentlessly against these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Sansan, research scholar Manipur in yes, and yes. Thank you for your nice presentation on the harassment of women in Manipur and unlawful activities and brutality, harassment by Indian Army. Yes, it is nice presentation. Thank you once again. Now I request, request Nimisha Sandilla, ex-student, Divrugarh University.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
A very good afternoon to Chairperson, sir, and all the respected participants of this workshop. Today, I am going to present my paper on the topic CEDAW and Observation. The Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women has helped in advancement of women's rights worldwide. Even with recent additions to the treaty, however, CEDAW is not a solution. CEDAW was adopted by United Nations in 1979, providing a broad definition of discrimination against women, illustrating the point made by Professor Martha Finman that international law often provides broader protection than domestic law. The treaty provides for women's rights in various areas such as governmental and political life, education, employment, healthcare, and other areas of social and economic life. It also provides for special protections for women, such as temporary special measures to advance women and to protect maternity. Article 2 requires state to eliminate not only governmental discriminations, but private sector discrimination as well. States should have to take necessary steps to eliminate not only governmental discriminations, but the discrimination made by any person, organization, or enterprise. According to Article 18 of the Convention, there should be a committee to review compliances by the state parties, and the state can indicate factors and difficulties affecting the degree of fulfillment of obligations. But this implies that compliances is not really expected. In addition to limitations here in CEDAW, the protections of the treaty are significantly weakened by ratifications laden with conditions. These reservations illustrate a broader concern in human rights treaty system. The implementation of treaties. Reservations of CEDAW are often based on assertions of cultural and religious beliefs. Although reservations that violate the object and purpose of the treaty are not allowed under Article 28. Some countries have attached sweeping reservation. For example, Saudi Arabia attached a general reservation to the treaty providing in case of contradiction between any term of convention and the norms of Islamic law, the kingdom is not under obligation to observe the contradictory term of the convention. Other states state parties have filed objection to Saudi Arabia's and other countries' similar reservations. In Turkey also, legislation and judicial decisions to promote women's rights have been based on CEDAW. Moreover, Turkey heeded the call of committee and withdrew several of its reservations and understandings which had limited the scope of CEDAW in Turkey. But some reservations remain as same before serious abuses against women continue. Culturally based honor killing continue to take the lives of women who have shamed the family. The motivations for special protection of women can lead the state to define abuses against women as crimes against family rather than the individual. As a result, the patriarchal values that can provide protection may also support abuses against women by reinforcing the norms of family honor that support killing of women. Thus, the factors necessary for the implementation of CEDAW are manifold. Although CEDAW does set out aspirational principles for international community, cultural or religious restrictions on women's rights are often barrier. They can impede the transition from aspirations to actual implementation. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nimisha Sandillo, for your nice presentation. Yes,
Thank you
our
so
time
much.
is very short. Yes, next two participants, Kumar Rashant, the research scholar, VKSU Bihar, and Godapani Sharma, faculty, Karimganj College. Yes, Kumar Rashant, followed by Godapani Sharma. Yes, Godapani Sharma, Karimganj College, Assam.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, for this today's presentation, my title is a case study on awareness of women for their rights. First part, introduction part, I want to say 2 or 3 sentences on introduction part. We know every woman should have the freedom to make her own choices and claim for their rights. Though there are several laws and rights for women, but they are still denied in every aspect of their life. No doubt, things have changed a lot for the average Indian women in last few years. But due to illiteracy, poverty, less inclusiveness in socio-political aspects, etc., make them less aware about enjoys their own rights or own rights. Therefore, there is a high need to study about the awareness among the women regarding their laws and rights. By this paper, I want to highlight or I want to focus on the awareness of women regarding their own rights and laws. Objectives. I take 3 objectives for this for finding out the results. The objectives are to study about the awareness of women for their rights. Second one, to study the best possible way to make women aware about their rights. Third one is to study about the problems related to women's awareness about their rights. Then methodology. In methodology, I use both primary.
You need not say methodology. Come to the conclusion part because only 2 minutes is left for to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, yes, sir. One hypothesis I taken here: women are aware about their own rights or not. This is my null hypothesis. I want to establish this by my findings. We know that, sir, all women they have some special rights and laws or acts. And in this particular paper, I want to highlight the right to privacy, right to untimely registration, right to confidently, right to no sexual harassment, and some acts related to the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, the Commission of Shorty Provision Act 1987, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013, Maternity Benefit Act 1961, Equal Remuneration Act 1976. This particular, I want to highlight the awareness regarding these specific acts Though there are so many acts, we know rights and law, acts and laws, but due to limitation of time, I cannot take up all the different rights and laws. Therefore, I have to highlight some special rights and laws in my study.
Just in half
Thank you,
minute conclude yourself. Time is over.
Thank you, sir. I want to study regarding the awareness of the women, how to enjoy their rights and laws to enjoy their lives. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, sir.
Yes, yes, yeah. Very nice presentation from the side of participants. All these presentations are very, very researchable. I thank you, the organizer, the Center for Ethnic Study and Research, especially Dr. Dipen Das, who is known as nowadays the many way he is known as he's an eminent scholar and researchers. Yes, and Jogesh Gogoi coordinator, Dr. Debojit Saikia chairperson, and the college who are associated with this workshop. And the finding is very nice in all paper, how we are reacted with this social problem with the woman, problem with the child, problem in tea garden, problem in library, and many way. And we all are reacted with these issues. Yes, and we are very much conscious on the human rights, and we are conscious how the human rights are violated. What is the role of Indian Army? Sometimes they have some brutality on the people. Not now, from those days of freedom moment in India. Yes, these all have been reflected in this paper. And thank you once again that you all are conscious on this violation of human rights. This consciousness is required. The reaction is required. Our reaction is required. These are somebody violated this human rights, but we are reacted. If nobody reacted, then there will not be a good result. So thank you once again to the all participants. There will be another concluding ceremony on 4:30. Now it is 4:32. So thank you once again to all. Thank you. Thank you very much. The seminar is over now. Dr. Dipendas is here. Dr. Dipendas.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
No, I'm here, sir. I'm Jogesh Das.
Jogesh Das is here. Could I
Yes,
close the conclude
Yes,
that?
yes, again.
Now this participation part is over. So kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You summarized the interest session in his short. Thank you, sir, once again for giving us your precious time as resource person for this session. Thank you, sir.
So kind of you. So kind of you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Here is an announcement. A validated session will start very shortly. We'll give the link in the WhatsApp group. The link for the validated session will be provided in the WhatsApp group.